Today, I've got to do something that nobody likes to do, and even fewer people know how to do. We're going to rebuild a carburetor. What we've got is a standard Motorcraft 2-barrel carburetor. Here's your float bowl. Here's your choke butterfly. You can see there are 1, 2 Venturis, so it is a 2-barrel. This is your electric choke. Then there's lots of little electric-y things that Ford put on this because this is the last of the carburetors before fuel injection. And they're trying to do the best they could with what they had, which really, it didn't do that much for it. Didn't do that much against it. It was just trying to meet regulations with very old technology. But this carburetor does work, except when it goes bad, which is what mine did. I believe either I've got a sunk float, a bad needle and seat, or a blown power valve. And the power valve is right here. The truck is completely flooded. The only way it starts is foot all the way to the floor, and then it runs terrible. If sometimes part throttle, it will just start to die. You put your foot all the way to the floor, it slowly comes back, but 0 power. Sounds like it's running on maybe 4 cylinders. So I think definitely the carburetor is the issue. So first thing we need to do here, there's a Phillips screw. When you're doing this, lay out a nice clean rag and put your parts on from closest to farthest in order that they came off. So if you're taking apart this part, this part, this part, this part, when you put it back together, start at this end, work your way back. Good way to keep track of all your parts. There's only a few screws to hold this on. This one is Phillips. This is the carburetor tag number. This one's still in good shape. It is on here. That is the carburetor number. So if you're going to order a very specific kit for it, that would be the number you would use. Okay, those are all off. We should be able to get this air horn off here. And the top of the carburetor is often called the air horn. I don't know why. It's not a horn. So this is the choke lever that I have to take off. Remember, that goes on there. So pop this air horn off. And if you can, try not to break the gasket in case the kit you have does not have the exact gasket you need. Also, it helps in matching up the gasket. So we'll put our cover there. And gasket still in one piece. We'll try to keep it that way. Remember a few episodes ago how I talked about pocket screwdrivers and how important they are? It's another great use for a pocket screwdriver. Put that off to the side. Next, this is my float. My float is not sunk. Float is not the issue. As you can see, you got gasoline in here to a certain level. As that level of gasoline comes up, this float comes up. Right here is your needle and seat, which needle and seat is basically, what's a good way to show it? Needle and seat basically is just like putting a cap on a bottle. So when the float goes down, it pulls up on the needle. That lets fuel in. When the fuel rises, float comes up, float pushes down on a needle, seals it. Then no more gas comes in. Then you hit the pedal, you're driving down the road, level goes down, needle comes open when the float goes down, gas goes in, float goes up, needle goes down, seals it off again. That is essentially how that works. It's very, very simple. But they do stick. They're neoprene, some are brass. Once we pop this clip off here, there we go. This float should come right out. It does have a return spring of sorts on it. I'll show you. So this here, this is the needle. Needle goes down into seat, and that is your stopper for fuel. We'll set these off to the side. You don't need to take all the little springs and things off of that. I don't know if you can see this, but there's quite a bit of silt in the bottom of this carburetor. I'd say that might be part of our problem as well. That's a better look. You can see a lot of sediment down in the bottom of that. This is your 2 Venturis. So as air flows over this, creates low pressure, sucks fuel through these tubes here. These tubes go down into here and eventually meet with these little jets. These are the jets. You can change these for more or less fuel. Your accelerator pump, so when you hit the gas with the carburetor, that's eventually going to squirt out here through a series of small machined holes and passages This is your accelerator pump on here, accelerator pump diaphragm. So you hit the pedal, this squeezes the diaphragm here, pushes lines basically through that tube right there, up and out there. And this one does have a gasket because fuel goes underneath it. So the screw has a gasket. The gasket is right here. That will have to be replaced. And then there appears to be a small little hex head screw here. Come on. There we go. Put that off to the side. There we go. Pop that side. Pop that side. There we go. There we go. It was stuck. This rod, this little aluminum rod, goes in the center. There's a check ball at the bottom of that. So if you tip this carburetor over, there's a check ball that's going to fall out. You will need to retain that. Your kit might not come with it. There it is. There's the check ball. One jet. And as you can see, all it is a little brass fitting. Well, it might be steel, but it kind of looks brassish. And it just has a hole in it. And this has a number on it. And, well, yeah, 49E, I think. So you can get bigger or smaller if you needed. Get both of them out. Okay. Second jet out. Not 100% prepared for all this. Ah, that's 3/8. It's not metric. There we go. Shouldn't be in there too awful tight, and it wasn't. And there's often a little copper gasket at the bottom of this, which on this one, it's part of the basically anti-slosh shield. And then we've got a small little fuel screen. Your kit may or may not come with that. That does come out. Not a big deal. We'll keep those together for now. We'll work on the outside. We've got to get accelerator pump and a few other things off of here. And this is sort of a vacuum assisted valve, probably relating to the power valve or the accelerator pump, but not 100% on these. I'm not great on my Ford knowledge. So this has a gasket as well. We'll look in the directions later and see what the actual name of this part is. But next, accelerator pump. Should be 4 screws on this cover. Also, one thing on this cover is it is aluminum. People over torque them and they warp. And I'll show you a way that we can figure out if it's warped or not and how to straighten it out. Accelerator pump may have a spring inside, may not. I can't remember. There we go. Broke it loose. It does have a spring inside. Here's that spring and that diaphragm. It's all one piece. Then on a Holly would be on the bottom and you'd be pushing up on it. On Fords, it's on the front. Back to the pocket screwdriver. There's the inside spring. So I believe you can get different stiffnesses of these springs too. So we'll put those over here. This is your fuel inlet. And this is a filter that's built onto it. The Motorcraft part number is still there. You can get these online still. Sometimes parts stores even have them, but around me, it's online only. There's a hard line that would go straight in here. I've got a clear fuel filter that I can see right now since that truck was sitting for a while, and I want to be able to see if that filter is the problem. And in here is a little rubber valve that goes inside this. We will also be replacing that, but I'm going to leave that there until I make sure that we have one. Since mine's good, if the kit does not have one, I would be in trouble if I broke it. Next, we'll work on the choke. Choke is right here. All right, there's a small spring clip right here. If you can see it, there's a small spring clip right here that's holding the choke onto this choke linkage. It's an E-clip that probably does not come in the kit. You will want to retain that. Here's your choke. So there's a bimetallic spring inside here, attached to a lever here. You put 12 volts onto this. The 12 volts heats up that spring, and since it's bimetallic, it's one metal on one side, one on the other, and it's curved this way, and as it heats up, it wants to curve the other way, and since it's in a big circle, that transfers into a twisting force, which opens your choke. I don't know what it is, but you can probably order it. Maybe you can't. Gasket's in one piece. It appears that I'm dropping screws everywhere. Don't do that. So I'll put these screws right back in the hole. Yeah, that's some sort of air bleed off or fuel check. Or choke, I can't remember again, but it's sort of a choke pull off. You hit the gas, and you can get the choke to come off so it doesn't just keep flooding the engine. Also, a recommendation when you're doing this, any vacuum hoses that are on here, replace them. Now here is our power valve, and I believe this has a problem. It's a diaphragm, and it should only have fuel on one side of it. It should not have fuel on this back side where the vacuum line goes to. Vacuum line hooks to here. As engine vacuum changes, diaphragm moves, gives you more or less fuel. I believe the diaphragm is ruptured, and I think I'm going to have fuel on this vacuum side. Again, don't drop the screws. Gentle pressure with a screwdriver, pop it loose. Oh yeah, I've got fuel on this side, the vacuum side. That is bad. So I've got a bad power valve. That's a huge reason of why I'm flooding. You can see this should not be wet on this side of this. There's a diaphragm, and since there's fuel on here, power valve's bad, which means I've been getting raw fuel straight down into the engine all the time, which means it's gonna run terrible, which it was running absolutely terrible. It should come in the kit. If not, hope you have more, but see, it is a spring-loaded check valve, and you can see all the fuel on this side of it. There should be zero fuel. There we go. One piece, always good. Here, idle mixture screws, those are coming out just for GP. We're gonna clean them. And they actually come out here. There's a small hole here. And as this screw goes in, the tip of it is sharpened to a point, and it allows more or less air to sneak past there, suctioning some fuel through there. Actually, it allows fuel past, the air passes through the butterflies, but it's allowing more or less fuel based on how far. It's basically needles, adjustable needles and seats. And there's a lot of gunk on the bottom of this that should not be there probably. So that is a pretty good teardown. We'll spray the rest of this off. I think I'm going to leave this on. I don't feel like taking it off. It's not going to hurt anything. I don't have a carburetor bath to soak this in. It's going to spray it out, so we'll clean all this up and we'll get the kit out and start putting it back together.